sponsored by the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria.
We continue our conversation around financing the agri transformation agenda currently on the way in Nigeria. And before the break, we were talking about who is to organize cooperatives in Nigeria to get the farmers organized. And Mike, you have a comment on that point.
I think the private sector should lead it. And for instance, when Noture was speaking during the last session, he said that they have about 1.3 million farmers. Noture should be in a position to organize those fertilizer
So
farmers.
Noture should be driving that.
Should be one of them. So such
Because he
companies
needs those people
should drive
to buy his
that,
products.
because they can organize this group into cooperatives that can work with them.
Good point, fair point. Oscar, do you have a
No,
comment?
I wanted to expand on the point of the fixed income markets. I think in one of our programs, our CEO, Dinez, we had the Honorable Minister of Agriculture come to speak to us. And one of the ideas he proposed was for us to find a way to issue a bond that has credit enhancers built into it so that the interest rate is quite low, and then farmers can access that. And the Nigerian bond market, excuse my language, has been on fire lately. I mean, a number of companies, a number of issuances have been coming out that are totally oversubscribed. Lagos State just did 80 billion naira that was oversubscribed.
Right.
I think Bolaji led that. Osun State just came out. It was more than double. The subscription was more than double what they were trying to. So the funds are there. I know we started working on that initiative with the minister's team and led by Kola. And I think that the timing could not be better if we can actually complete the packaging, because the funds are there. You just need to bring it to market.
All right, I'm going to come back to the discussion around the fixed income market because I think that is very instrumental. But I want to bring Ike back into the conversation. I want you to add to the points people are making with respect to how the infrastructure needs to be reorganized for banks to lend even more to the agri sector.
Thank you. I think of infrastructure from two perspectives. There is a hard infrastructure, and the hard infrastructure relates to things like irrigation. I've spoken about hard market infrastructure like ports, physical storage, obviously transportation, and things like that. And we know that the reality is that in the short to medium term, the hard infrastructure is firmly a government issue.
Right.
But then the soft infrastructure, and I think the first thing around the soft infrastructure is the mindset. And it's not just banks, and I mean, when I say banks, I'm talking across the range of different types of banks, but I'm talking about the entirety of our society. In Zambia, farmers are celebrated to a degree that brings joy to you when you see it. The Farmer of the Year is a major event, and the president gives the award. And farmers are celebrated as you go into a social function, and that's a farmer. This family has been in farming for... That is what farming should be in Nigeria, okay? And not some of the more... I think in the private sector, we tend to celebrate some of the more... Anyway, I don't need to comment on that now.
Well, I imagine... I think that leaves everybody's imagination to dwell on that one.
Now, if we have this paradigm change flowing through the country, the responsiveness of the system, including the financial system, to the agri sector will change. It is this type of change that has led to lending from banks moving from 1.5 to 3. But then you need both the hard and the soft for sustenance, okay? One of the reasons why I'm dressed like this is that I realized that whenever we spoke about agric and I was in a room in my suit, the other stakeholders were dressed as Alaji was dressed, and then I saw Mr. Jiwiri in a stockbroker's waistcoat and so on. And I just thought, look, this is part of that divide.
Right.
And so I've learned how to start, so I'm more
All right.
on that side than on this
Hopefully
side.
some people will appreciate that.
A bit slowly.
You know, but I think these
But I
little
think they want
things,
your money all the same.
these little things are very important. So a lot has been done in terms of aggregating the data of farmers and making it available to banks and so on. But I think that we should embed in our transformation program the soft aspect of it, whereby farming and agriculture as a way of life will be celebrated again in this country.
All right. I really want to throw this open to the panel because I think that we haven't really done justice to this point, and that is getting long-term capital. The bond market, Oscar mentioned that the market, it's more or less a boom market for bonds in Nigeria now. We're getting so many foreign investors interested. If, for instance, the likes of AMCON are able to issue bonds. So the truth is that we don't really need the government to issue these bonds. What we probably need is the government guarantee and to organize ourselves in a way for these bonds to be made available for the farmers that need them. Well, do you have a comment on that?
I think Oscar's made the point. It's around credit enhancements. Later this month or early in January, the IFC will issue for the first time in this market a local currency bond. Now, the IFC and organizations like that, you know, the ministers talked about KFW, can do a lot more in terms of assisting government with credit enhancements around fixed income issuance in the local market. And I think those are the sorts of low-hanging fruits and near-term opportunities that we can chase. For many of us, we spent the last decade focusing on equities and fixed income. You know, for people like us, our next decade is really around building FIC businesses where we make the bulk of our money from fixed income, currencies, and commodities. And I think, in summary, the excitement for me around this sector is not only the passion, you know, that we're seeing and the energy in the room, but the fact that this sector can actually deliver some really significant economic benefits across the economy.
Anyone else have a comment on that?
My opinion is we should encourage commercial banks to specifically float agri bonds so they can give loans at lower rates than they are doing currently. Instead of just depending on what the central bank does, they can on their own float their agri bond for this purpose. So farmers
That's the challenge to you, I think. What's the possibility of us getting that from the banks?
Well, I'm here as a commercial banker, but since I used to be a universal banker, let me speak about the economics of what is being suggested. Irrespective of what the purpose for which you issue a bond for, you're going to issue it in the market. And whether you call it agric or oil and gas and so on, it's one market. It's one interest rate curve, you know, and you're going to plug into that interest rate curve. So the point is, if I'm issuing an agric bond, is it going to come cheaper than if I'm issuing a bond for my balance sheet? I don't think it will, you know. Now, however, if the thought process is on behalf of the type of companies that clearly we are seeing are now accessing a lot more bank financing, we're going to tap the market for Prescos or Comusov. I agree with that totally, you know. But I'm not too sure that the bond market is a viable means by which commercial banks are now going to on-lend to smallholder farmers at subsidized rates. I don't think it's going to work, you know, quite like that. I'd like to add also, you know, that we bank all the companies that, you know, have been profiled thus far. But anyways.
I didn't know you were allowed to plug.
Okay, fair point there. It may not be realistic for them to issue at lower rates than what they would issue normally. No, but Yvonne, do you have any points on that?
I think we need to stick with government.
The government still has to come to the table.
For that piece of, the important thing is there are many financial solutions for agriculture. For the piece of funding for the farmers, the government should issue a bond. We need to have a mechanism for making sure it does get to the farmers. Mm-hmm. And with that, as Bolaji, I, and all of us have said, we do need to have credit enhancement. Right. One plug I would make is that the international investor community is very, very interested in agriculture. Where there are well-funded projects, there is opportunity for large-scale institutional investors to come in and invest. So we just need to, it's a very exciting time. If we have the right environment and more importantly, the right financial solutions, the long-term debt solution is an important one. If we have that, there will be quite a lot of money coming into this sector.
Michael?
Yeah, talking about investments, I think we discussed that too. I had an experience just 2 months ago. I got 2 briefs from 2 Nigerian companies, very good agricultural companies. One, well, you have the details. And basically all they were looking for is, can you get people to inject capital? We want foreign investors. And I had the unique opportunity of meeting with the president of the U.S. Poultry and Egg Association. And while we were over lunch, I mentioned to him, look, I have these proposals. It has to do with a sector that is relevant to you, poultry production in Nigeria. Very good companies. I thought I made my case. I didn't hear a word from him. He didn't say anything. When we stood up from lunch to go, I restated the same thing. I have 2 companies, very, very good companies. You should be interested. Can you get me 1 or 2 of your members to look at this? He still did not say anything, and I got the message. Every foreign embassy, every embassy in Nigeria, or in all countries of the world, report back to their home countries, and I guess probably the Nigerian embassy does that too, what you call an investment code, investment climate report every year. You are telling the stories as is. And I guess what this gentleman was telling me is, look, you're telling me your own, but there's so much I'm reading from what is coming from your country or from our ambassador in Nigeria telling us XYZ, 1 bomb exploded yesterday. Investments will always go to where the environment is conducive for it to thrive.
Security situation.
Security situation, we have to do everything. Agriculture in Nigeria is just waiting to explode.
So the government has to tackle that
happen
for us to get
when we have the
money in. Okay, I want us to begin to round up, but Bolaji, you have a point?
I'd just like to put a brighter perspective on that, and that's essentially that Nigeria as an agricultural opportunity is probably one of the most exciting destinations, one of the 5 most exciting agric destinations on a global basis. Firstly, you've got somewhere near, I don't know if I'm getting my numbers wrong, 100 million hectares of arable land that's not currently under cultivation. You've got a population in this country which everyone thinks at the minimum will be somewhere around 250 million people in 5-7 years' time. You've got a market essentially that is predominantly young, so it's feeding both sides of that agric value chain. It's providing workers, it's providing also the end market. We've got, a variety of agro-allied products across the entire value chain, from, extremely valuable strategic cash crops to low-value products. And I think that notwithstanding the challenges that we've had with security, and all the other issues that we've had to deal with this year, particularly in the north of Nigeria, which is Nigeria's farming belt, we will still find that we will end 2012 with agriculture having contributed no less than about 35 to 40% of Nigeria's GDP. And from that perspective, you cannot afford to ignore Nigeria and Nigeria's agricultural opportunity.
Okay,
I'll just add to that. I think it's...
Very quickly, please.
Yes, and people are looking at this sector. The international investor community is looking. It is a difficult environment to do business in, but there are companies that are coming in here for international institutions that are very successful. They're multinationals who've come in for years. They're food companies, agriculture companies that are looking at this market very seriously, and they're engaging with people who are serious about doing it.
All right. Can I round up Ike and Oscar, if you will, please?
I like to think of investments, well, yeah, you look at foreign investment, but domestically, I want to say that there are several large-scale agro-linked businesses that are making investments big time on the back of the transformation program. I can't name them just for client confidentiality reasons, but I'm talking about companies making $50 million, $100 million investments, either self-financed or financed by banks like Access Bank. So there is a step change taking place. I would also like us to take transformation in steps, you know. Yes, we will set bold targets for ourselves, but to expect things to change overnight, you know, maybe setting our sights too high, you know. So we calibrate our milestones in a detailed manner, and just make sure we touch those milestones, even if we move from 1.5% to 3%, 3% to 5%, 5% to, you know, and so on. And we will get to maybe 100% hopefully one day.
It's a great opportunity, but we have to be realistic about our targets in the short term. Oscar, final point?
No, what I wanted to say is that really the name of the game is yields in financial terms now, not in agricultural terms. If you look around the world, there's a struggle to get yields, and that's what's driving the funds that are coming into Nigeria. And they're excited across the entire list of industry sectors. But what makes agriculture interesting, apart from the unique opportunities that other panelists have said about, is that there is visionary leadership that we can all see, and agriculture is becoming sexy again. And so we think that we just need to give the appropriate products, when I say products, financial products, that people can invest in, because the portfolio managers that we're speaking to across the world have money on the sidelines waiting to come into Nigeria if they can find the right products to invest in.
Nigeria, a hot opportunity for investors. As we round up, DG, do you want to say something? I know you're co-moderating.
No, I just want to echo what has been said. In the earlier panel, one of the panelists mentioned that we need that working capital for smallholder farmers is basically in the tune of $20 billion. So one of the great things about the conversation that we've had is the focus on innovative finance. We need to find a way to manage the risks that people see so that people can enjoy these returns, and so that the pools of monies in Nigeria and outside of Nigeria can take advantage of the high returns that the Nigerian agricultural sector offers. So it's up to us in the capital markets to create those products and to ensure that we're structuring transactions that bring us to a point where we're supporting this revolution in agriculture.
Absolutely. Let's leave it there. A wonderful panel. Yes, we can put our hands together for the panel. It's been indeed a very interesting discussion around financing options in Nigeria's agriculture sector. This is a booming sector, clearly. We've heard millions of dollars is already moving into this market, into this opportunity. We hear that the fixed income market is likely to tap into that opportunity as well. And as we continue to see flows of investor money from outside Nigeria, we expect that this sector will definitely get its own fair chunk of that flow. Thank you so much for joining us on this very interesting panel. And on that note, it's goodbye.